I'm not dead. I disappeared for a couple of months, sorry about it. I had a dissertation deadline and I was just busy and didn't really want to do anything, so that's what you got. But I'm back, better than ever. Someone commented on one of my videos recently and they asked me to talk a little bit about the application process for Chelsea. Oh, what did they ask? Let me... okay, so Miss Charlie Rosenshine asked, could you do a video on your application, like the portfolio and interview and any advice on that? It would be tremendously helpful as I'm thinking of applying to Chelsea. Kiss, 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 kiss. First of all, kiss, kiss, kiss. Second of all, yeah, I started planning a video talking about the application process, including the portfolio and the interview, and then I realized that there's actually just like too much stuff going on in that. So it's actually going to be 2 videos. This one is going to be about the portfolio. I, in theory, crying, in theory would like to show you my portfolio that I used to get into Chelsea, but I don't have it with me. It might be in my family's home, or I might have thrown it away. I went through a bit of a YouTube minimalism phase where I thought that owning more than 5 things was a cardinal sin, so I don't own anything from that time of my life. But with the wonder of Google Drive, I can show you a lot of the images that were in my portfolio, and I'm going to talk about them. First of all, if you're interested in studying at Chelsea or you're curious about what that experience is like, I did make a video about my experience at Chelsea, about whether or not I regretted my decision, so feel free to watch that if you're interested. I will link it in the box. Firstly, just some general advice for applying to UAL. I would recommend that you do a foundation. I would recommend that you do a foundation course first. If you're thinking of applying to Chelsea, I'm sure you know what a foundation course is, but just in case you don't, it's a 1-year course that kind of bridges the gap between A-level fine art and degree level fine art. I really recommend a foundation though, because the way that A-level fine art is taught and the kind of skills that you're told to develop through that course, I think are very, very different to the types of skills that you're forced to cultivate in a degree. A foundation also is really beneficial for people who aren't entirely set on which area of art they want to go into. So I have friends that really wanted to do illustration and then did a foundation and realized that is not at all what they want to do, and they're now doing costume design. If it wasn't for foundation, I would probably still just be doing oil painting. But yeah, it's fantastic for making you question your own practice and begin the early stages of really thinking about what you want your practice or your artistic career to be. So, portfolio. My portfolio was A1 in size. A1 seemed to be like the standard size. It was really inconvenient for me to bring it all the way down to London from Lincolnshire on the train and then like cart it around London all day. So that sucks, but I think A1 is standard. I had like 10 to 15 pages in my portfolio, and the way that I arranged them was very specific. There was a lot of thought that went into which order I was presenting everything and why, and I'll get into that in a second. Sorry, if I'm looking down here, I'm looking at my laptop, just looking at the images. The first like double page spread of my portfolio was actually a series of paintings. I made a series of 10 paintings that were sent to a small village in the south of France that just went on display in the town hall there for a couple of weeks, and that is what opened my portfolio. I thought it was an interesting story and it was an interesting thing to talk to the interviewer about, and that's something you need to bear in mind, that your portfolio will stand on its own, but you will also have to talk through it with the tutor or whoever's interviewing you. So if you can include work that has some kind of story or work that's easy for you to talk about, that's really beneficial. So I had these paintings. I'm gonna like throw them all up on the screen and then just talk about them. So this double page spread was these paintings just printed and stuck on these pages, but I did also have a physical painting that I brought with me. I thought at this point a lot of my practice was painting, and if someone's really gonna judge the quality of the painting, I think they need to see it in real life. So if you can bring a real painting, either include it in your portfolio or In my case, this was painted on a wooden panel of MDF, so I just brought the entire panel and just like put it in the portfolio. So then they can see the quality of the painting in real life, and they can just, you know, they understand then the quality of the other images that they're looking at. Yeah, this is the physical one that I brought. It was my fine art A-level final piece, like 0.8 meters by 1 meter, I think. It was quite heavy to walk around London with that, but bitches want to go to Chelsea. This is another one. They were all of a similar like motif. They were all portraiture, oil portraiture, and floral motifs. This one was actually part of my A-level art history final piece. This is a interpretation of Hansel and Gretel. Yeah, just some more paintings. This is weird to look back at these. But yeah, so the portfolio opened with paintings like these. They were almost like collage, so it's like the 2 pages are here, and then this page had like maybe 1 image here and like 2 below it, and then 1 to the right, and then this page was like the same in reverse, so it was like an interesting curatorial arrangement of images, but it only took up 2 pages of my portfolio. I decided against printing each of the paintings really large and having them each have their own page, because I think like by the time they've seen 2 of your paintings, they know what your technical ability is, and these were all of a similar theme. There's no reason to take up so much of the portfolio with the same work. After these paintings, I included some of the digital work that I was doing at the time. So on my foundation, before foundation, I used to think digital artwork was like an invalid art form. And then during foundation, I ended up doing a project on text. And for that, I was then looking at juxtaposition between contemporary and traditional, still a running theme, and I made these digital collage pieces. So I printed those really high quality and put them in on the next couple of pages. Obviously, when you're printing things for a portfolio, they need to be printed very well. You need to make sure that you have very high quality images, and they need to be printed on very high quality paper that will show the color and the detail. And this doesn't have to be expensive either. You can literally go to like Poundland and just buy, just even photo paper is better than printer paper, just for the quality of the color. But obviously, if you're able to spend a little bit more money, it's worth buying high quality paper and getting these things printed properly. After these digital pieces, I wanted to continue that trend, so I used some screenshots from some video work that I made that I will also include here. I was toying with the idea of including a QR code that the tutor could scan to watch the video, but I decided against it because I thought talking about it would be better than just showing, and I also didn't want to assume that the tutor would have time to watch a video during the interview process. After these, I included just 2 pages of life drawing. In my foundation, we had a life drawing component. It was actually really great. It was really beneficial to my like technical drawing ability and my observational skills. I had 2 life drawing pieces in particular that I thought were really, really strong, so I included both of those in the middle. I then included more digital work. I had this series. This was from the same like text project that I did in foundation. I was looking at the Gucci logo and playing around. I included these digital collage pieces that included some photography as well, and then this transitioned nicely into a textile component of the portfolio, which was just 2 t-shirts that I made. No, I didn't actually. I bought the t-shirts. I just like drew a design on them. One of them was fabric painted and the other was embroidered. To display these, I literally just folded them up as if it was in a shop, you know, where it's like That doesn't explain anything. When you go shopping for t-shirts and they're folded in a way where you can see the design, they were folded like that. The sheet of paper with the t-shirt just like in the middle. And that was like a double page spread. So I could talk about my interest in fashion and textile design. That's the kind of idea of the type of work that I had in my portfolio. There were other pieces, but I honestly don't remember what they were and I don't have my portfolio. But that's the kind of idea of the type of work that was in there. There's quite a large range of stuff, and I wanted to make sure that each of the pieces of work in there were things that I was comfortable talking about. The portfolio it needs to be a representation of your practice, and at that point in your like artistic life, your practice is not very well established, and that's totally fine. That's the point. No university expects you to have a established career or have everything like figured out before you apply, otherwise there's no reason to go. But you want to be able to talk very confidently about every piece that's in the portfolio, because the interviewer will ask you about almost every piece, or you don't know which pieces they will ask you about. You want to try and group things together to make everything flow very nicely, to make like a cohesive line from the beginning to the end of the portfolio. Equally, the first piece of the portfolio and the last piece in the portfolio should be some of the strongest works. You want to make a really good first impression, and you also want to leave a good lasting impression. All of the like mid work can just go in the middle, because that's when you're supposed to be like showing your exploration and your experimentation and your creativity. All of the work in my portfolio, other than the first double page spread of those paintings, was work that I made in my year of foundation. Portfolios should be recent work, just for the simple fact that it doesn't really represent where your practice is at now. I think an exception though would be if an old piece of work demonstrates a particular skill to a really high level, or a really specific concept that is really poignant and important in your practice now, or something you want to revisit. Or maybe it's a piece that went wrong and that in itself is a talking point. The interviewer may very well ask you, what is a piece of work in this portfolio that you're not very confident with? And that doesn't mean you should throw in like a bad piece of work. It just means that you should be prepared to be very critical of your own work. I think that's what they're looking for in that question. I think what helped me most when I was making my portfolio was to think about the experience of the interviewer looking through it without me in the room. So what story is told by the sequence of art that you've chosen? It should just be images, but those images should speak for themselves. In the interview, the interviewer will look at your portfolio without you first, and then you will join them and you get to talk about it, but there is still, their first impression of your portfolio is without you. So yeah, sorry I wasn't able to actually show you the full portfolio. Don't own that shit anymore. I hope the video was at least a little bit helpful though in describing how I did it and my thought process behind everything. I'm going to make a second video talking about the interview process. So if you'd like to see that, subscribe to the channel and have a look at the other video about whether or not I regret studying at Chelsea. If you're interested in studying at Chelsea, I think there's some interesting information there. And yeah, I will see you next time. Bye.